Hi guys, this is Hiba Taha from Case 23 Official, and today I'll take you through the branches of forensic science. So before going into the branches, let me take you through what forensic science is. So to sum up, forensic science is the application of scientific principle, techniques and method to solve crimes and support in legal investigation system. So it involves analyzing physical, biological, chemical and digital evidence so as to uncover facts that help identify perpetrators, understand crime events, and also to establish connections between people, objects, and location. Now, connection between people in the sense between victim and suspect, between witness and suspect, or witness and victim, all such sorts. Now when you talk about forensic science, the first thing that comes to mind is what is a crime and what is a crime scene. So a crime is nothing but an illegal act which is done against the society and is harmful to society as well as to an individual. It need not be confined to a murder, theft, or robbery, but it also involves cyber crime, bomb attacks, terrorist attacks, all such sort. While a crime scene is nothing but the place where a crime takes place. Now, based on the evidence we deal with, we have different branches under forensic science. The first one being for forensic anthropology. So this mainly focus on studying human skeleton remains so as to determine the identity, cause and circumstance of death. The main thing we grasp from forensic anthropology is information such as age, sex, ancestry, that is their racial profile, whether they're Caucasians, Asians, Negroes, all such sort, and trauma determination along with reconstruction of facial features. This is done mainly to understand what was the person looking in flesh, like what you say, like how the person looked when he was an actual human, like not the skeleton system but the the skin and muscles, all those stuffs. And to examine the burial remains. The main application of forensic anthropology is nothing but in mass disasters, crime scene with decomposed remains, and also in historical investigation. Another branch is forensic odontology, which is sort of similar to anthropology but mainly deals with dental evidence for identification purpose. Similar to anthropology, from dental evidence one can find the age of the victim. I mean victim or the suspect, like from the dental records. That is what it is. And then the application comes in identifying, like in mass disaster cases, and bite marks, especially in sexual assault cases, to identify the person to whom the bite mark belongs to. So that is done here in forensic odontology. Along with bite marks and this dental impression, dental x-rays are also looked into under forensic odontology. Now coming to forensic medicine and pathology. Now forensic medicine is sort of an umbrella term where forensic pathology is a branch and sub-branch under forensic medicine. Difference is that forensic medicine is a broader field which includes medical knowledge applied in legal cases, including injuries and poisoning in living as well as dead individuals. On the other hand, forensic pathology is nothing but a subset which mainly focuses on determining cause and manner of death through autopsies, or as well as known as post-mortem examinations. So here what you look under pathology is like the manner of the death, the cause of death, and also like the type of weapon used. That is mainly by assessing the width, the depth of the injury, whether it is a blunt force or a sharp weapon used for the injury. All such sorts are determined under forensic pathology. Coming to forensic entomology. So entomology is nothing but the study of insect. So when it comes to forensic entomology, it is nothing but the practical application of the entomology in legal context. So what we use is the life cycle, understanding the life cycle of insects and arthropods to solve a crime scene. Now it is mainly used in homicidal cases, or also to determine the body movement after death and locating burial sites. Body movement of death in the sense that if a bug or a beetle is only found at location A and the body is found at location B with the bug seen at location A, one can assume that the body was there at location A to begin with, and then it was either displaced to location B, or some other changes had happened before the investigators has had arrived at the crime scene. So that is what forensic entomology deals with. Coming to forensic toxicology, it focuses mainly on the study of poison, drugs, and chemicals in biological sample. So the key task under forensic toxicology is nothing but to test body fluids such as blood, semens, urine, all those stuffs, and tissue for toxins, analyzing drug overdose, and assessing environmental toxins. Environmental toxins could be this acid rain and or carbon monoxide poisoning. All those stuffs comes under environmental toxins. And application is nothing but poisoning cases, drug related deaths, especially DUI, that is driving under influence cases, and workplace toxic exposure, that is nothing but exposure to industrial fumes. Question document is one of the common branch in forensic science. So the father of question document is Albert S. Osborne. Like the name suggests, it is nothing but you're questioning a document's authenticity or genuinity, and this is found out or analyzed by looking into the document itself, like the material of the paper, the way it is folded, all those stuffs, and the handwriting pattern, like checking the similarities of the question document handwriting with that of the suspect or victim. And also along with that, we look into paper I mean printing techniques. We have different printing techniques, like inkjet printers, or lasering ink printers, all such sort. Now it is mainly applied in fraud cases, counterfeit detections, and ransom letters. Next, we have forensic ballistics. So, it is nothing but the study of firearms, ammunition, and gunshot residue, which is nothing but the residue left by the firearm once it is fired. So, father of forensic ballistics is Calvin Goddard. What we do here is analyze, different parts of firearm so as to pinpoint which firearm it is, like not which type of firearm, like the specific firearm used for the incident or the crime. So so a firearm will consist of bullets, pellets, propellant, all those also will be examined so as to identify the distance between the shooter as well as the victim or the target, and to at what angle was the firing, the velocity of the bullet, all such sorts range also, or are analyzed under forensic ballistics. Coming to forensic crime scene, it is nothing but a comprehensive examination of crime scene to collect and preserve evidence. Now it involves identifying, collecting, and preserving physical evidence found at the crime scene. Identifying in the sense, when you go to a crime scene, suppose it is a home, you have different objects in a home, like you have chair, furnitures, all those stuffs, bed, books, all those or documents, all those stuffs which you commonly see in a home, a household environment. So when you say the house is a crime scene, you only look at the area where the body is present or the evidence is there. So other than these things, like other than the evidence, or what we classify as evidence, we have unwanted sort of things. Maybe it could be a bed or something else. So we need not get all those for analysis. So we just separate what is required or what is classified as evidence and non-evidentiary valued objects. So that is what involves identifying, the term identifying. And then collecting, preserving is nothing but the gathering of these evidence, and then preserving it so as to keep its authenticity. Like you have to show the court what you have taken from the crime scene as it is without tampering it. So that is why preserving is also important in under forensic crime scene investigation. Now here all the physical evidence such as fingerprint, documents, as well as trace materials, nothing but any evidence found in very small quantity, all those are dealt under forensic crime scene investigation. Coming to forensic serology and biology, similar to medicine and pathology, Biology is an umbrella term and serology comes under biology. Now biology deals with identifying bodily fluids along with cellular materials, which also includes DNA analysis. On the other hand, serology is mainly focusing on body fluids such as blood, urine, semen, saliva, all those stuffs. And what we do under serology is we use immunological techniques so as to detect a specific antigen and antibody, and thus linking the suspect to the crime scene or the victim and confirming their relationship. Forensic chemistry focuses on non biological evidence like drugs, explosive, and chemicals. One could tell forensic toxicology comes under forensic chemistry because under forensic chemistry any non-biological substance including drugs is looked under chemistry, while toxicology is nothing but you look under poison, drugs, and such sort only. So this will also deal all kind of adulteration and to mainly understand in drug trafficking cases, arson cases, or explosive investigations. Forensic physics, on the other hand, is application of physics principles to solve crimes. That is mainly by dealing with evidences such as glass, fibers, cement, tool marks, paint, building materials, or soil. Now, tool mark is nothing but the mark left behind by a tool used on the object. For example, if you use what you say a knife on a pillow, you will have that uh, what you say that cut mark on the pillow, indicating that a knife or a sharp object was used on it. So the impression left by the knife on that pillow or on an object is the tool mark. So that is what we deal under forensic physics. Now application comes here as vehicle accidents, ballistics, and structural collapses. Now structural collapses in another field we look into forensic engineering. Like under forensic engineering we look structural collapses, which I'll tell you going on. Forensic fingerprint examination, as the name suggests, it looks into fingerprints of different individuals, analyzing the difference between each fingerprint, and so as to what you say pinpoint the individual, either the suspect or the victim, or to understand whose fingerprint it is like which is found from the crime scene. So here mainly the experts look into rich pattern, minutiae points, other unique characteristics of fingerprints. Now minutiae points is nothing but which makes like the fingerprint very individual. I guess around 8 to 23 minutiae points are required to confirm the fingerprint's identity, like the owner of the fingerprint. So that is dealt here. And the main task, however, in fingerprinting is like collection of the fingerprint and comparing the latent prints. Latent prints is nothing but visible prints, like visible prints which are naked, like visibly naked to our eyes. And coming to digital forensic science, digital forensic science is like what you say now recently upcoming and developing and more you know famous sort of. It is like everyone knows this field, so I need not tell much about it. But so digital forensic is nothing but it deals with digital devices and cyber crimes. Digital devices are nothing but our laptops, our hard drive, hard disk, all those such our mobile phones all comes under digital devices. And cyber crimes are like malware attacks, hacking, phishing, all those stuffs come under cyber security, or I mean cyber crime and cyber security related stuffs. So what application is that? Again, cyber security, identity theft, online fraud, all those comes under for digital forensic. Now we've dealt like till now I've mentioned I think 10 to 11 topics, I'm not sure though. So all these are what you say the uh, what is a classical branches of forensic science. Like these are the main commonly used forensic science branches. Now there are more branches which I have mentioned in this slide, and again there are more which is not mentioned in the slide that you can refer through online platforms. So let me take you through some other branches which are sort of emerging right now and which are there also, which are used, not frequently but used. So forensic botany is one of them, which is like study of plant in legal context. What we do here is we look into pollen grains, seed analysis, plant identification and such sort. Applications include linking, suspects to crime scene and estimating burial times. Similar to entomology, which I have mentioned, forensic botany is nothing but you link, like if a pollen grain or a plant is specifically to location A and you find it at a location B along with the victim's body or something else, or a car which was left by a suspect, one can assume that he was there, or the victim or the suspect or that vehicle which is found at location B was present at location A to begin with. Now, forensic geology, on the other hand, is the study of soil, rocks, and minerals to connect to suspects' location. Similar to forensic botany, if something is seen at location, it is supposed to be at location A and is seen at location B, one can assume the location change. So again, it is mainly applied in locating burial sites, environmental crime. The key task here is to soil sample analysis and geological mapping. Forensic linguistic is nothing but the analysis of language and communication in legal cases. So the key task is nothing but identifying authorship, that is the to whom that slang or the way of pronunciation belongs to, and detection of language patterns. So each individual has sort of different language. For example, in a broader spectrum, Keralites, like the English spoken by Keralites is different from that of North Indians, and it is different from the what you say European countries or US. So one could tell from where a person is born and brought up sort of from forensic linguistics. So it is applied in threat letters, ransom note and perjury cases. Now forensic linguistic also, one more thing you can notice, some people tend to use a sort of slang or a specific word, like like me using so in between every sentence. So that is very unique to us individual. So that is all looked under forensic linguistic. Now coming to forensic accounting is nothing but investigating financial crimes. Now financial crimes are nothing examples like money laundering, embezzlement, tax fraud. They are mainly employed in banking sectors or financial sectors. So what they do is tracing transaction, identifying frauds and auditing records. Coming to forensic psychology, it is nothing but understanding the criminal behavior and mental states of the suspect, mainly the suspect. So understanding why have they committed this incident or the crime, why like what was their what was they thinking when they were doing, are they guilty enough, or are they mentally stable enough. All such sort of questions are dealt under forensic psychology. Now the key task is nothing but profiling the criminal behavior, competency evaluation and counseling the victims. Now actually forensic victimology is another branch which I have mentioned in this slide, which could also come under forensic psychology, because forensic victimology mainly focuses only on the victim side, like how to deal with their PTSD, how to help them cope up, why were they victimized. All those such questions are dealt under forensic victimology. On the other hand, forensic psychology is a broad spectrum, mainly to look into criminal behavior, and it also includes victim psychology assessment also. Now forensic engineering is investigation of structural failures and accident. This is why I mentioned this under forensic physics. So main key task is that accident reconstruction and material failure analysis. It is mainly applied in building collapses, vehicle crashes and industrial accidents. Forensic archaeology, again, it focuses mainly excavation, my bad, excavation and analysis of buried evidences. So what happens here is they excavate crime scenes, analyze remains and artifact covers. So it is mainly mass graves or ancient remains, or in cold cases we make use of forensic archaeology. Now cold case is nothing but unsolved or unresolved cases, which could not be solved completely, either due to lack of evidence or some other issues. Now artistry. Forensic artistry is nothing but creating visual reconstruction for identification, such as what I have mentioned in anthropology, where you do a facial reconstruction. So, in forensic artistry, what you do is you do facial reconstruction along with age progression. Like, you have this apps right now, which is, sort of trending, where you look what will you look in the future when you get old. So that progression can also be done in forensic artistry. This is mainly applied in identifying missing persons or unknown victims. If a person is missing and after a long 10 to 15 years gap you find that person, so and you are trying to confirm whether the person A that is missing is the is this person B which is found. So there you use forensic artistry. Now, forensic graphology is nothing but the study of handwriting to infer psychological traits. In graphology, you look into different alphabets, the position they have been placed, the way you use the dot of the I, the way you loop all these letters, the way you use the margin, the way you arrange your paragraphs. All those stuffs are looked into to assess your psychological traits. Now, this is also applied in threat letters, fraud cases, suicide notes, all those stuffs. Forensic limnology is mainly focusing on diatoms. Now, diatoms are, microorganisms that are seen in water sources, water, fresh water, especially freshwater ecosystem. So, this forensic limnology mainly deals with whether the person is, antemortem or post-mortem drowning. Antemortem is before death, post-mortem is after death. So whether the person has drowned in the water, or whether the person has been killed and the body is dumped in water, all such sort are related under forensic limnology. Forensic nursing is nothing but medical care and legal evidence collection for victims. So, examining victims, collecting evidence, and testifying court. Forensic nursing is mainly used in sexual assault cases so as to assist the victim into giving into proper care, especially to look for unwanted pregnancies or STDs. All such sorts are looked under forensic nursing. And domestic cases or elder abuse. So elder abuse is nothing but abusing the elderly, when some kids might hit or be rude to their parents. All such sorts are looked under forensic nursing. Forensic victimology I have covered along with forensic psychology. So now coming to wildlife forensic, it is nothing but the investigation of crimes involving wildlife. So this is mainly focusing in endangered or extincting animals or wildlife creatures. That is what wildlife forensic does. And especially wildlife trafficking or illegal hunting, all those poaching, all those stuffs are dealt by wildlife forensic. On the other hand, while forensic zoology, it is sort of an umbrella term under which wildlife forensic comes. Now, forensic zoology is nothing but the study of animal evidence in legal context. So, the key task here is identifying species and studying animal behavior. The main application here is mainly animal abuse, and cases of wildlife crimes, as I have mentioned in wildlife forensic. So, these are the branches we'll cover today. I hope you've understood all the branches which I have gone through. Do excuse my voice because I'm having cold. I hope all the queries are cleared within this slide. If not, do comment, feel free to comment down, and also do like, share and subscribe to our channel, and I'll see you soon. Thank you.